Hello everybody, Emperor Bubbles is here, and today another faction overview, a little bit of a guide talking about the units, and then finally showing you some builds for Egypt. Egypt is what and who we are covering today. I guess first things first, we'll take a peek at their generals, kind of go through what is viable, what's good, and things you can do. So the Carrying Axeman General 400. Good cost-efficient general. They have Pilla, so these guys can throw a precursor at incoming units. Very solid. And I actually learned from Hamilcar Barca that he prefers these Carrying Axemen over the Galatian Swordsmen. I haven't compared their stats yet, but he enjoys that. They're axes, and then they can throw those. They can throw the Pillum super far. So they have like the radius of a Thoreos spears. So these Levi Thoreos spears, they have that radius, so it's pretty dang good. And let's get on the line. The Hellenic Royal Guard, Royal Thorax Swords, Royal Peltis, Ptolemaic Cav, there's your Shot Cav Gen, pretty solid unit. The Scythe Chariots, and then the African War Elephant. You can do a variety of things here. You could bring an elephant, you could bring a Ptolemaic, but in some of the builds you'll see, I think they might all be bringing the Carrying Axeman General. There could be a few with a Ptolemaic, but we'll just see when we get there. And as for these units, it's all up to what you're preferring. These are all the elite units, obviously, all fairly solid. So they're melee infantry, Egyptian infantry. These guys do have a precursor. They do have Pillum, 200 coin for a precursor. Solid choice, very good. And then we look at their mid-tier swords, the Thorax Swords. Many factions have the Thorax Swords. If you're unfamiliar with this unit, it's not the best. I would call it a lower mid-tier sword, but many factions have it, such as the Greeks, the Hellenic factions. So they'll have these Thorax Swords. Then here's one of their unique units, the Sobek Cultists. These guys instill fear into the enemies. So if you're going for a scare build, you can combine some Camel Spearmen with at least one Sobek Cultist. And then, hey, even throw in some fire arrows. And then you've got three factors of fear going upon your enemy. And you could definitely, potentially rout the enemy. And oh my gosh. So not only do they scare everyone, they also encourage nearby units. So I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Royal Thorax Sword, they're not horrible, but definitely not favored amongst the community. I know the Empire doesn't really enjoy those units. Royal Peltis, didn't really talk about them earlier. They do have the precursor, the Pillum, and they're a solid melee. Definitely like them over the Thorax Swords. But here's your bread and butter. It's the Galatian Royal Guard. Just a massive, girthy unit. Definitely can compete with some of the other top tier swords. So if you can, find a build where you can bring 4 of these guys, I think that's pretty solid. It's just a matter of, they're so expensive, and we're using large funds here, so 11,700. So if you're bringing, 4 of those, you've already used up most of your funds. So you gotta think wisely and make a wise decision. So here are their Spear Thoreos, Spear and the Levi Thoreos, and the Nubian Spears. I still can't remember if the Nubians have Pillum. I should have remembered from the last video. I know the Levi Thoreos do. I wouldn't be bringing these Kushite mercenaries or those Leopard Warriors. Not a big fan. I'd avoid those units. If you do want, your flanks to be protected, the Thoreos Spear, solid unit. They can also go square formation, and square formation on Thoreos, very good for delaying an enemy unit. And then let's just take a peek at these next. The Pike group, you got the Elite Pike, Hellenic Royal Guard, and then your Thorax Pike, and so forth. I don't bring Pike much, but I think that an expensive, a 1260 Pikeman, I don't think that's very wise to bring really in any build. Maybe if you're doing sieges, this is for these builds are for land battles, but I probably personally wouldn't go above the 600 pikemen. That's just me. And then even the Egyptian pikemen, they're very spongy. So if you're gonna bring those, make sure that you have a plan. You need a plan, definitely. The arrows will definitely rip you apart. So they're missile infantry, cheap slinger. Every faction, well, not every faction, but a lot of the factions have cheap slingers, so in Egypt is one of them. So these slingers, very viable, very cheap, very solid. They will, they'll do the slinging for you. They'll be your ranged unit. Let's see what else. I don't really like the low tier archers. But if you're worried about, maybe some elephants, definitely, you know, Nubian bowman, cheaper option, or you can bring the Cretan archer. So they do have these two top elite slingers and arrows. So the Rhodians, extremely good, and the Cretans, some of the best. Ptolemaic Cav, a little bit more squishy. You see their armor's a little bit low, 60 armor. So if you do want to bring a shot cav, I'd say Hippeus Lancers are more bang for the buck. I think Hippeus Lancers, you don't get them with Egypt, but they're about 1080, and they definitely last a little bit longer than the Ptolemaics. So they're melee cav, citizen cav, not very good. I've had some bad experiences with them, but they do get camels, and you can build some interesting rush builds with Egypt. If you bring some camels, you know, you could honestly, if there's no rules in the game, you could bring you could build out 4 elephants and then spam camel spearmans, but that actually might work better for Seleucid. There will definitely be a Seleucid video in the future, and we'll talk more about that. The missile cav, camel archers, I would avoid. They can't shoot. I don't think that they can shoot when they're moving, so definitely don't bring a camel archer in any circumstance. But if you want to build out with some cheaper skirm cav, you got skirm cav, and then the Tarentine, just a staple of skirmish cavalry. And then they get chariots and elephants. Chariots have kind of fallen out of favor with me, but once again, 4 chariot rush or even 2 chariot rush, I think that definitely deals a lot of damage, especially in the right hand. Definitely requires some micro. But there's the Egypt overview. Got into a little bit of the units. Let's take a peek at some builds. So we got here. We'll start with Hamilcar Barca's build first. This is the defending champion, 4-time champion in Total War League. Total War's premier esports league, but here's what he's bringing. He's got 2 citizen, a Ptolemaic cav, 2 Tarentine, 2 of the Egyptian slingers, 2 Rhodians, 4 Egyptian pike. He's got 2 Galatian royal guard, and finishing out with the Carian axeman. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, Barca favors the Carian axeman over the Galatian swords. You're saving money. Anytime you can save money on builds, you might as well. Maybe Hammy can leave a comment below about why he prefers the Carian axeman over the Galatians. I can't fully remember, so having him chime in would be very, very blessed. But you know, this build, good solid build. You're bringing 5 total cav. 2 of them are Tarentine skirm cav, but you can still definitely get the job done with them. Your slingers, they can totally do work, and you got the interesting factors of the pike. So you know, you can send in some melee, maybe send in the pike, or just, you know, keep your enemy at bay, because we do see in Total War League and just in battles in general that enemies want to charge you with cavalry first. But if you have pike in that front line, well, what are you gonna do? You can't really use your charge strategy because you're gonna run into pike. So nice thinking here by Barca. Barca, thank you for the build. I appreciate you sending that in. And then this next one, let's see here. It's my build. I built this with my own bare hands. We got a Carian axeman general, 2 Egyptian cav, 4 Tarentine, so some nice skirm ability. You can really keep your enemy at bay, put the pressure on, and then 3 slingers, one of those cheap Egyptian infantry. They do get the precursor of the pilum, and then 2 of the elite Galatian royal guards, 4 thorax, and 3 Carian axemen. I was trying to make a build for the video, and this just kind of was speaking to me. Egypt's not the strongest faction, but I'm sure in the right hands, that this build, and of course Barca's build, could deal immense damage. But those are the first 2 builds, guys. Let's look at the final build. I made some adjustments to this. It was sent by Moore. It was a rush build, but I put my own twist on it. We'll see what the people think. Let me know in the comments below. But here we have it. This is a rush build. So we got Carian axeman general, 2 elephants, 6 of these camel spears, 3 Egyptian infantry, Carian axemen, and then you rest are going to the thorax sword, 7 thorax swords. So you know, the thinking here is you just want to, essentially what I called it, a rush build. You want to converge your units on the enemy and then just go at them. Do not let them saunder away. If they have arrow and maybe some skirm cav, you could be a little bit caught out here, but unless you're in Total War League or playing top competition, I think this build would do pretty dang good against new players. Just gotta, you gotta make sure that you enter your elephants at the correct times, correct positions, and that's easier said than done. I definitely struggle with that. It's not a given, definitely not a given. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I would very much so appreciate it. The Empire would appreciate. And of course, sound off in the comments. Let me know what you thought of these builds, and give me your build for Egypt. Alas, fighters, glory be upon you, and glory to the Empire.